Hello everyone and welcome to this video. In this video I'll show you a couple of things, some redesigning of the layout as of now and making the first step of an enemy. Keep watching and thank you for clicking this video. Hello everyone, greetings everyone, welcome back to E3 or welcome to E3. Last video I set up a very basic scene of how the game could look, but now I'm going to set up a new scene. As you can see, I've already deleted the floor here, and we just set up some basic things. But first we want to do something that will concern the main character, and that is to make the actor spawn something whenever the mouse clicks. Now of course we need a basic scene to do that, so let me just set up a cube here. I'll reset to default, set the skill up to 100 or 50, maybe just 20. Yeah, that should be okay. And if we look here, a character should be as you can see, we have a basic scene. Let me set it up a little. And yeah, we have a basic scene. So now let's try and make something spawn where the mouse clicks. Okay, so now we're back, and what I prefer to do now is to make it that the character spawns something when the mouse clicks. Now it is quite easy to do that. What we can do is call the event left click, call the event left mouse button, and it's right here. And so we want this stuff to do anything. Let's say you want rapid fire. Rapid fire of course needs an update. Well, since that Unengine's input events don't have on hold, so we need an update. But first we're going to do this sequence. What this does, I'll explain it later. Then one, we can do gates. Again, what this does, I'll explain it later. And when the gate is pressed, or when the left mouse button is pressed, it will open the gate, and likewise for the release, it will close the gates. And on exit, let's say it will spawn actor from class. Let's say we want it to spawn the main character. Now how you get the mouse position may be more trickier. So I'm gonna do this. Get hit result under cursor by channel. Let me try this. Get clear controller. And you can break hit results. And if you press this R button, usually for nodes with this, it expands the pins and the options. So you can access more of that node through you expanding the node. So you can see all these things here. What we need right now is just the location. So when we get the hit under cursor by channel, in other words, when the mouse clicks, whether it's left or right mouse button, or maybe even middle mouse, we get the hit result, and we break that hit result and get the location of it. And now what we need to do is to make transform, or to make a transform for the actor to spawn. Plug that to the location and it should spawn. And as you can see, it is spawning. And this time you can rapid fire it. So what does the sequence and the gate do? Correct me if I'm wrong. The sequence is a node that allows an event to do multiple functions. And a gate is for flow control. It needs an execution pin to enter. And yes, that's all for a gate. What we need to do now is to make the scene more lively. That one could be either this video or the next video. But right now let's do some tweaks. Okay, so what do we need to do now? Let's try making the enemies. So what we need to do is to make enemies. How do you make enemies? Well, for starters, I like to make a new folder called enemies. And I like to make it that the base of the character parent class, in order to function well with the AI move to, which we're going to make later. Then name this enemy 1. And so here we are in the enemy 1 blueprint. What we need to do now is to make it look basic. So first let's start off with the basic requirements to make it look basic as a cube. Start with 4, 4, 4. Or you can just lock this and set all of them at the same time. You can set it back to 4 and unlock it. Also, I forgot to set the skeleton cube, and so we move it down -50, and then we set the capsule half height to 50 and the capsule radius to 50. Next we need to add a pawn sensing component. So the pawn sensing actually helps the AI to sense only pawns. An actor or something that's not a pawn can't trigger the pawn sensing. And remember that all characters are pawns, but not all pawns are characters. And so even if we do a character or a pawn, the pawn sensing will still trigger. So we need to call an event called onPawnC, which we can do like this. Or you can do like this by right clicking it and add on pawn C. And so what we can do to make sure that it only heads for the character and not for other pawns is that we can cast to it, or we can cast to the main character. What casting actually does is that it checks whether this object is the object that it is cast into. If it's true, to do this, it will pass this execution pin. If it's false, to go through this. And so we can do AI move 2. AI move 2 is like a very simple tool that you can use to move an AI to a certain location. The pawn object reference actually refers to the pawn that the AI will move to the location. And so we can get reference to self. The target actor is the actor that you'll be moving to, or you can use the destination. Note, the target actor overrides the destination. So you can leave destination at 0 and put the target actor and still look. And what I like to do is to put it at 10. This one you don't really have to touch, but then I want to do that. But then pawn sensing also has some determiners. And if you compare and click pawn sensing, you'll see this. This green here is what I usually like to use, because I haven't really mastered the pawn noise, but pawn sight is really good. Now we can set it to 1000, and the peripheral vision to 45 or so. You can set it anyhow you want, but I'll make it a little bigger just to make sure that it sees the player. And right now I'm just going to save all the blueprints. And let's rotate it by the Z at 90 degrees, or negative 90 degrees. Negative 90. Yeah, thank God. But we also need one more thing, and that is a nav mesh field. And what the nav mesh bounds volume would do is that it will allow anything that's using or needs navigation to move, but it has to be within this nav mesh bounds volume. So let's scale it up a bit. 100, 50. Let's say 50, and 20. Let's scale it down a bit. It should be okay. Yes. And how you check if this nav mesh bounds actually works is that you can press P. Okay. Yes, you can press P and it will show this green part. Anywhere that's green, the AI can, or anything that uses navigation can move to. Anywhere that's red, it can't move to. And you can also lift something up so that it will make room for it, so that you can be able to move under it, and you can also bring it down so that it can take up that space. Right now it doesn't seem to be updating, but if you actually build the navigation mesh bounds, it should update. And if we do this, as you can see, it is moving next to the player. In the next video, here's how it's gonna be. In the next video, I'll show you how to make downrange functions, probably, or in a later video. And in the video where I do the widgets for this game, I'll talk about the mouse cursor, the custom mouse cursor, so that you don't have to do mouse cursor show or how to click and drag anytime you want to view. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and hopefully you'll be at the next video. Goodbye.